Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. In Deuteronomy chapter 9, Moses is leaving the Israelites some truths that they needed to know as they entered into the promised land. And one of the truths that they needed to know was really the reality of the situation. Here Moses really lays out what lies ahead. He says in chapter 9, in verses 1 and 2, "Hear, O Israel, you are crossing over the Jordan today to go in to dispossess nations greater and mightier than you, great cities fortified to heaven, a people great and tall, the sons of the Anakim, whom you know and of whom you have heard it said, who can stand before the sons of Anak?" So Moses gives them this first truth, and that is it's going to be difficult. In other words, it's going to be challenging. The enemies that you are going to encounter are very strong. The cities that you're going up against are very fortified. And so Moses isn't glossing over the situation. He's not telling them, "Oh, it's okay. It's going to be all right. Those guys aren't as tough as they look. Those cities aren't as fortified as you think they are. And it should be pretty easy going in and taking over the land." No, Moses lets them know, yeah, this is a pretty substantial enemy that you're going up against. And he's very real about the situation. But the important thing is that he doesn't stop there. You see, the 10 spies that came back and gave an evil report, it kind of stopped there. They just saw how difficult it was going to be. They saw how large the inhabitants were, how fortified the cities were, and they just said, "Okay, that's it. We can't do it. Let's give up." But Moses keeps on going. This isn't the only truth that he gives them, and that's very important. And that's important for us as well, because there's times in life where we too are going to be encountering challenges. And it could be in relation to our job, to our family, to the church, whatever the case may be. Oftentimes in life, we come up against challenges. And it's important for us to be real about the challenges that we face. One of the things that we can, or trap we can fall into sometimes, is by trying to gloss over our problems and acting as though they're not that big of a deal. There's nothing wrong with actually saying, yeah, this is a big deal. This is a big challenge. However, we should also do what Moses does and not stop there, because sometimes we might just look at the challenge and just look at the problem that lies ahead, and then just leave it at that and think, "Oh, it's just impossible. There's no way we can overcome this barrier." But Moses doesn't stop there. He doesn't stop with the reality of the challenge. He goes on to give some truths that will help them encounter the challenge. And one of the things that he tells them is that through God, they will succeed. In verse 3, "Know therefore today that it is the Lord your God who is crossing over before you as a consuming fire. He will destroy them and he will subdue them before you, so that you may drive them out and destroy them quickly, just as the Lord has spoken to you." So he's real about the situation. Yes, this is a great challenge, but God's going to go before you. And he's like a consuming fire. And he's going to destroy them. And he's going to be there for you as you drive them out. In other words, God's going to help you. And so no matter what the challenge is, you have God on your side. And that always gives you the advantage. And that's the truth that we need to remember too. We can be real about our challenges and realize just how difficult they may be, so long as we also recognize the God that goes before us, and the God that helps us, and the God that comes alongside us. This truth helped the Israelites, and it would help us as well as we encounter day-to-day challenges. But then also there's another truth embedded here, and that is that they would still have to cooperate with God. It's not like they could stand on the eastern side of the Jordan and just sit back and God was going to do all the work and then they just walk in. They were going to have to do some of the work as well. They're going to have to cooperate with God. That's also said in verse 3, where it says, "He will subdue them before you so that you may drive them out and destroy them quickly." So they were going to have to play their part as well. And that's important too. Sometimes we are very real about the challenge, and maybe through faith we do put our trust in the Lord. But it's important that we don't just sit back and fold our arms and cross our legs and just sit back and say, okay, God's going to do it all. We still go out and meet the challenge. We still go out and meet the problem, but doing it all the while trusting in the Lord that he goes before us and that he will help us and that we can cooperate with him as he exercises his strength and his power, his might, and his wisdom in the situation. And then the fourth truth he leaves them is that when they succeed, they must remain humble. He says in verse 4, do not say in your heart when the Lord your God has driven them out before you, because of my righteousness the Lord has brought me in to possess this land. But it is because of the wickedness of these nations that the Lord is dispossessing them before you. And then that kind of follows through further on. But you get the idea. Here, Moses is saying, okay, it's a challenge. You're going to go in and you're going to meet that challenge with the Lord's help. He's going to go before you. You're going to be able to drive them out. But once you get in and you dispossess all these mighty nations and you get to actually live in the land, don't think it was because you're all that great or because of your own righteousness that God allowed this to happen. And he'll go on and remind them of the very fact that they're not all that righteous and that they don't really deserve to possess the land, but that God is just staying true to his promise. And that's something we have to remember too. As we face challenges, as we go in the strength of the Lord, and as we work in cooperation with God to overcome great barriers and problems and challenges, at the end of the day, when we do overcome and when we are successful, we should never gloat or be prideful, but always give God the credit and say, you know what? God helped me out, not because I'm worthy or because I'm all that righteous or because I'm all that good. It's because he's so good and that he's so faithful. And that's how I was able to meet this particular challenge. And so these four truths helped the Israelites as they entered into the land. 1, being real about the challenge. 2, also recognizing the strength and the power and the might of their God. 3, realizing that they were going to have to cooperate with God through the process. And then 4thly, that when it was all said and done, it wasn't because they were all that great. It was because God is great. And these are 4 truths that we can hold on to in our day-to-day struggles, in our day-to-day challenges. And that can help us get through these challenges in a way that will exercise faith and at the same time bring glory to God. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we do our reading today. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.